Over the last 24 hours, the simmering conflict in the Middle East has absolutely exploded. This isn't just more of the same. This is something new, something far more dangerous. We're now in a devastating regional energy war. For years, there were these fragile, unspoken rules of engagement. Well, those have been completely shattered, and now the entire world's economy is sitting directly in the line of fire.
Okay, so let's dive right into this intelligence briefing. To really get a handle on what's going on, we're going to break it down into three parts. First, we'll look at exactly what kicked off this energy war. Then, we'll do a deep dive on the tactical situation, the expanding, multi-front battlefield. And finally, we're going to get into the political powder keg. Because honestly, the diplomatic fractures are becoming just as dangerous as the missiles themselves.
All right, let's start at the beginning. The inciting incident. The one single strike that has put the world's energy supply squarely in the crosshairs.
So in a move that was, to put it mildly, incredibly controversial, Israeli forces hit Iran's South Pars natural gas field. Now you really have to appreciate the scale of this target to get the gravity of the situation. This isn't just some facility. South Pars is the single largest natural gas reserve on the entire planet. It's a crown jewel of Iran's economy, one it actually shares with its neighbor, Qatar. By hitting it, Israel basically painted a giant bullseye on the global energy grid. This was a red line that everyone, for years, had carefully avoided. And while reports say the US was told about the op, they did not take part directly.
Well, Tehran's response was immediate, and it was furious. The foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, went on state TV and declared, and this is a direct quote, "zero restraint." He basically said that any calm we'd seen before was just them respecting international calls to de-escalate, but that those requests are now, in his words, null and void. This wasn't just talk, it was a crystal clear signal. Iran's whole strategy has changed from fighting through proxies to direct, state-on-state payback. The gloves are well and truly off.
And Iran wasted no time making good on that threat. They launched a barrage of ballistic missiles at Qatar's Ras Laffan facility, which is one of the most critical hubs for liquefied natural gas in the world. The impact was just devastating. Qatar Energy is reporting that 17% of their entire LNG export capacity was wiped out instantly. To put that in perspective, that's a huge chunk of the energy that countries all over Europe absolutely depend on. And the early damage reports, they're saying it could take up to 5 years to get this facility back to 100%. 5 years. That's going to have some serious long-term consequences.
And the financial fallout? It was instantaneous. It was brutal. Global markets are, frankly, in a panic. Brent crude oil just shot up 10%, hitting $119 a barrel for a bit. That's a price that can easily kick off inflation all over the world. At the same time, European gas prices, which were already shaky, jumped 24% to a 4-year high. So you see, this isn't some distant regional conflict anymore. No, this is a global economic shockwave, and it's hitting everyone, right at the gas pump and on their heating bills.
Okay, this is a really crucial point. Look at how Iran strategically spread its firepower around to cause the most economic pain possible. This was not some impulsive act of revenge. No way. As you can see here, they used different tools for different jobs. For Qatar's high-value hardened facility at Ras Laffan, they used heavy, tough-to-intercept ballistic missiles. For the UAE sprawling Habshan gas facility, they sent swarms of cheaper suicide drones to overwhelm the defenses. And for key spots in Saudi Arabia's Samref refinery, they used other advanced cruise missiles. This is a coordinated, multi-pronged assault on the entire energy architecture of the Gulf.
And let's be absolutely clear here. When you look at the data, this is a massive vertical escalation. The number of projectiles Iran is launching daily has spiked by over 300% compared to last week's average. And last week was mostly just proxy attacks. This is different. This is no longer a tit-for-tat kind of thing. This is a sustained, high-intensity bombardment being carried out by the state of Iran itself. It's designed to break regional economies and punish anyone they see as an enemy.
Now, let's get into our tactical deep dive, because beyond just the energy grid attacks, the direct military-on-military fighting has hit a fever pitch across the entire region.
This is a big one. For the very first time, the Israel Defense Forces have pushed their operational reach deep into northern Iran, opening up a completely new front in this war. The IDF has confirmed it hit what it's calling key Iranian Navy infrastructure in the Caspian Sea. You know, this area was always thought to be a safe haven, a strategic backyard for Iran, far away from all the action in the Persian Gulf. Well, not anymore. This strike signals that no part of Iran is off limits now.
And this wasn't just some symbolic hit to send a message. Oh no, the objectives here were very clear, very strategic. According to intelligence reports, they targeted dozens of military vessels. We're talking fast attack craft, midget submarines, the whole shebang. Israel is systematically trying to erase Iran's ability to fight at sea, making sure they can't open a new front or, and this is crucial, smuggle advanced weapons through that Caspian corridor to their proxies in the Caucasus and beyond.
At the exact same time, the United States has massively ramped up its own air campaign. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has just authorized what the Pentagon is officially calling the largest strike package yet. American bombers, and we can probably assume that means B-2 Spirits, flying from thousands of miles away, are now pushing deeper into Iranian airspace than ever before in this war, hitting hardened command centers, weapons factories, and IRGC leadership.
But, this kind of intense operational tempo, it takes a serious toll. U.S. Central Command has confirmed that an American F-35 stealth fighter had to make an emergency landing right after a deep penetration mission over Iran. They haven't said exactly what happened, but it's a clear signal that these are not risk-free operations. Iran's air defenses might be degraded, but they're still up, they're still dangerous, and the stress on these advanced planes and their pilots is just immense.
So in response to this air campaign, Iran is trying to overwhelm Allied air defenses by deploying some of its most sophisticated tech, multiple warhead missiles. So how do these work? Well, think of a ballistic missile that, as it comes back to Earth, separates into multiple warheads. The whole point is to just saturate and overwhelm advanced defense systems. A single interceptor missile from Israel's Arrow or David's Sling system might hit one incoming warhead, but it's got no chance against 3 or 4 coming at it all at once. And this air defense war has absolutely deadly consequences for people on the ground. Tragically, debris from one of these intercepted Iranian missiles crashed into a commercial area in Hebron, in the West Bank. We're talking tons of falling metal, maybe even unspent fuel. It hit a beauty salon, killing 4 Palestinians. One of them was a pregnant woman. It's just a devastating reminder that even when these high-tech systems work, the human cost for civilians can be immense.
Meanwhile, inside Iran itself, the regime is terrified of intelligence leaks from its own people. The besieged paramilitary forces have kicked off a brutal internal crackdown. They're arresting and, in some cases, publicly executing civilians who get caught using Starlink satellite devices. The regime is accusing them of feeding targeting data to the U.S. and Israel. It just shows you how deep the paranoia runs and how much they fear the uncensored flow of information.
Now, keeping a high-intensity multi-front war like this going, well, it is burning through American military stockpiles at a truly staggering rate. The Pentagon is reportedly asking Congress for an emergency funding injection of $200 billion. Let that sink in. And that incredible amount of money isn't for some future project. It's just to keep the war machine running, to replenish the massive number of precision missiles, interceptors, and smart bombs that are being used every single day. This is the financial reality of modern warfare. And now we've got to pivot. We're moving from the battlefield to the back rooms because a massive diplomatic rift is opening up in real time between Washington and Jerusalem over what the endgame of this war even is, and it is all playing out in public.
The U.S. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, just confirmed this rift in some explosive testimony to Congress. As you can see, the U.S. and Israel have fundamentally different war aims. Washington's stated goal is purely military: take apart Iran's missile and naval capabilities and restore some stability. But Israel is fighting a totally different war, a much more ambitious one. It's a decapitation campaign aimed squarely at the regime's leadership, which they see as a literal existential threat.
And that South Pars strike, it just blew this whole disconnect wide open for the world to see. President Trump publicly claimed he specifically told Prime Minister Netanyahu not to hit the gas fields because he was afraid of exactly the kind of economic mess we're in right now. Then, after Israel went ahead and did it anyway, Trump tells the press the U.S. knew nothing about the timing. He was clearly trying to put some distance between his administration and the one move that lit this whole fire. But then, in just an astonishing act of public defiance, Prime Minister Netanyahu fired back almost immediately on national television. Responding to Trump's comments, he just said, "He makes his own decisions and we make ours." I mean, this is a remarkable public clash between the leaders of 2 allied nations in the middle of a hot war. It's a signal that Israel is ready to go it alone, no matter what Washington thinks. So Trump is caught in the middle, this crisis is spiraling, and so he issues this terrifying ultimatum directly to Tehran. He warned that if Iran even dares to attack Qatar's LNG facilities again, The U.S. military will personally step in and, his words, massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field. This puts the U.S. in the unbelievable position of now threatening to destroy the exact same asset that its own ally attacked to start this whole escalation in the first place.
So, what we're looking at here is a regional powder keg just waiting to explode. America's Gulf allies, especially Qatar and the UAE, are furious that they're being used as a battleground in a war others escalated. NATO is scrambling its ships to try and secure the Strait of Hormuz, where a huge chunk of the world's oil flows. And this energy war is now actively threatening to crash the entire global economy.
And that brings us to the final, critical question. With alliances breaking down in public, with red lines being crossed every single day, and with the global energy supply hanging by a thread, what is the next move on this geopolitical chessboard? The decisions made in the next 24 hours are going to be absolutely critical.